All right, today I want to talk about a trend that has been going on since I was a kid and that I find to be somewhat problematic. And that is, I want to talk about gatekeeping. Now, gatekeeping is the practice of basically positioning yourself at the entryway to something and deciding who's allowed in and who's not. And this played a role in my life when I was younger as I was getting into punk rock and hardcore and that kind of stuff as far as music goes. So my favorite punk band is MXPX. I've talked about that a few times. And I grew up listening to stuff like Blink-182 and Offspring and Green Day and Craig's Brother and Dogwood. And there were always people who would say to me, "Oh man, that's not punk. That's pop music. Punk is stuff like," and then they would list what to them was acceptable as punk music, which was typically far more aggressive, older. It could be stuff like the Ramones and the Sex Pistols and the Velvet Underground. It could be stuff like, Rancid and that kind of stuff. Black Flag, those bands, Fugazi. But they wanted to tell me, no, what you listen to is not punk. You're not welcome in our scene. Further, because about half those bands that I listed as bands I personally listened to, MXPX and Dogwood and Craig's Brother, were Christian punk bands at the time. I would also get like, "Oh man, that's not punk music because punk music can't be Christian." And it always bothered me because, one, I was a young person. I was trying to figure out where I fit in the world. I was constantly evaluating myself and trying to see what boxes I could check off. How could I describe myself to other people? And two is it bothered me because I wanted to know what made them the people who could decide what was or was not punk rock. And so it was disclusive. It was that's not even a word probably, but the idea was like, you are rejected, right? Same thing can happen in the ska scene for sure. Like as I've gotten to get more and more into ska music, I see that tendency to be like, that's not ska, that's rock with horns. That's not ska, that's this. Now, I understand that genres have defining attributes, right? But at the same time, genres grow and change. I've been really intrigued lately with the question of, can genres bring in other influences? Blink-182, many people have a hard time calling their new music punk rock because they're bringing in so many other influences. But they have songs like Generational Divide, which is like one of their most punk songs ever. So I say all that because that gatekeeping that happened in music was all about, you can't come past here. This is our scene and you're not part of it. Go. And to me, that's problematic because I want people to be able to be a part of the scene. Come in. We want to welcome you. We want to introduce you to the beauty of our scene, right? It's kind of like the idea that, like, I don't want you to know about this band that's getting, that's my band. I don't want them to get big. Well, it's sort of to the detriment of the artists. When they get big, they make money. They're able to survive, that kind of stuff. So I want to welcome people in so that they can participate and enjoy these things and the bands can thrive, Well, this same idea of gatekeeping also exists in the reading world, right? In the reading world, this gatekeeping looks like, I'm sorry, that's not literature. That's garbage, right? And I think everybody struggles in some way with this. So one is there are the people who define literature as only that which is the old canon, which is old dead white guys, right? Which is the Shakespeare and Poe and Dickens and Steinbeck and those kinds of authors, right? And then there are people who are like, we'll let a woman into that. Emily Dickinson for poetry. Now you've got, but there's no diversity. There's, you get people like Jason Reynolds who talked about how he didn't finish a book till after he graduated high school because nobody in any of the books that he read looked anything like him or acted anything like him. So being someone that loves a diverse array of literature, I've been someone that's been told over the years, that's not literature. Graphic novels, that's not literature. Well, okay, we will allow a couple. So for instance, the March Trilogy, which is a trilogy of graphic memoirs about the civil rights movement written by John Lewis before he passed away. Those will be accepted, but Superman will not. And many of the people who are discounting it are people who don't read it, so they don't see things like Scott Snyder's literary allusions to things like Antigone in his Batman graphic novels, right? But even without those illusions, it's literature. And if it gets people to read, it's great. So comic books, graphic novels, poetry, sci-fi, YA, middle grade, I don't care where that book is. If you love a book, pick it up and read it. Now, there are genres that I am personally not a fan of. I'm probably not going to ever pick up a romance novel, especially kind of that Harlequin type romance novel. Just doesn't appeal to me at all. Okay? That's a taste issue, but it's not a gatekeeping issue. If you want to read that, right? What I want to encourage you guys to do, and what my passion is here in this video, is one, to kind of explain the problem of gatekeeping, both in music and in literature, where we should just be encouraging people to love what they love, be who you are, right? But two, is I want to encourage you to spread that love to other people, and to broaden your horizons as well. So today I'm talking a little bit about gatekeeping, and I hope that when you finish this video, maybe you're inspired to pick something else up, or you're willing to let go of other people's judgments of you and just be you. All right? Have a good one.